Hey guys, good evening, welcome back. Well, the summer season has almost ended. I've got one more race to do, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go into details about it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. But anyway, summer's almost done. So we're obviously starting to think about getting the cars ready for the winter season. I've run my Iris 1.05 and then 1.1 a lot outdoors this year. So I decided when I'm building ready for the summer, ready for the winter, I'll install some new drive shafts. There is a lot of posts about problems with these very, very, very small clips that sit on the bearings on the end of the drive shafts. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, there's a little tiny clip on the end of the drive shafts. All of the modern touring cars have them. And they cause some issues with getting them in. So all I thought I'd do is I'll just do a little bit of a video on how do I actually fit them. Normally when I'm maintaining my drive shafts, I will never clip them loose unless one of the bearings is broken. So once they're in, they're in. Luckily with the Iris drive shafts, you get a nice bag of them. You only actually need two. What do you get in here? 3, 5. You get 10. So I think Andreas, he's also a few years of age. So I think he has the same problem as what we do when we get to a certain age where we become blind. And we can't see these little things anymore. So that's great that you get 10 in the drive shafts. So I've obviously I've got spares. This is for my open bag, so I won't be opening the clips out of this because these will go in my spare parts bag. What I'll do is I'll just open the drive shaft, get all the parts out onto the setup board. Really careful because there is a lot of little bits and pieces in here that tend to like to fly away. Okay, yep, we've got it all. Get a bit of wax on the threads, clean that off in a bit with an old wheel nut. No. Okay, like I said, these I'm not using, they'll go on my reserve pile. Obviously when you're building drive shafts, there's a few things you need to be just aware of. And there's a few things that you will need as well. Like I said that. Oh, there it is. I thought I'd lost a piece already. It was still in the bag. There's a few things you will need extra apart from the drive shaft. My bearing lube of choice is the One.1 Racing bearing oil. It's super thin. It's like water. The bearings last forever. And then what I also do is I use CV joint oil. Also One.1 Racing. I don't use grease in this part of the drive shaft anymore. I used to use the hoodie bearing grease. Drive shaft grease. And I just found it especially outside, it seemed to attract sand and grit and that sort of thing. And they seem to wear out really quickly. I know X-Ray and Iris and Mugen, they all have different manufacturers of steel. So it's not saying anything about X-Ray's quality or Mugen's quality or Iris's quality. But what I found is when I swapped to a CV joint oil from a grease, the wear got less. And what's also really nice is during a race weekend, if the track's really dusty and dirty, you can blow them off with the airline in the car and then just turn the steering and you can take this. It's got a nice little needle on it. Just drip in. And then you're good to go. Obviously, when you get home and you've done your racing or whatever, then it's nice to take them out. I then put them in an ultrasonic bath and with a load of brake cleaner in it and just stick that on. So it shakes all the shit out. Obviously, on the end of here with our Iris drive shafts, we have a pin in here. This pin is not held in with anything. So what I just like to do is I like to take a little bit of silver anti-wear grease, anything that sticks, and I'll just smear it onto the pin, and then it sticks in there. Obviously, when you're taking them in and out of the car, it stays in place and the pin doesn't fall out. That's just a little bit of a tech tip. Obviously, these ones will go in the car, and the old ones will go in my Bart's box. So let's see if I can do this as well. I've just done that one off camera. First thing I do is I take the inner bit where the bearings go on. I take the little bearings. These I haven't cleaned. Normally when I take my bearings for my car, when I buy a new car or something, I'll put them into brake cleaner, again in the ultrasonic bath, and I'll give them a good shake out, get all the grease out of them, and then put the bearing oil in. These ones I don't. They're obviously not bearings like in a car where they need to run around. These are just sitting there. They do turn, but it doesn't matter for resistance. So what I do is, the first thing I'll do is I'll wet my finger with my tongue. And then I'll just stick this to my finger. I then try and, you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'll do my best. I then just try and locate the clip over this piece of drive shaft and sit it into its little groove. The groove is really, really, really difficult to see. But once it's in, it'll sit there in its groove. Then I take my small flat-headed screwdriver. This one's had a little bit of abuse, but it works perfectly. And then I'll just take my finger, hold it in place, take the flat screwdriver, and just give it a little push. And it should, he says, just clip into place. I'm being a little bit quiet now because obviously I need to concentrate. Click. Okay, and then you see that the clip has actually gone in, but it's not all the way. So what I like to do is I like to take the screwdriver again and just push a little bit further in, just to make sure. No, it's not quite in. It takes a little bit of wibbling. Okay, there we go. It just said click, click. And what you'll see is, I don't know if you can really see it. I'm not sure if the camera's very good. Focus, please. Focus, please. On this. No, it's not going to focus. I don't think it's going to focus on that. But what you'll actually see is, when the clip has gone in, there is 3 little pieces that will fall into the groove on the axle. Obviously, because it's so small, I can't really zoom in far enough to get a focus on it so you can see it. All you see is my dirty mechanic fingers. So again, I get the other side, get a clip on my finger, just try and slide it over the axle. That one went a little bit nicer, so obviously means this one's going to fire across the room. And again, taking a flat screwdriver and just pushing it in, it should, it went in a little bit but it didn't click. Click, and it's clicked all the way home. Okay, it is really trial and error, and until I figured this out, I used to really struggle with them. I tried with pliers, I tried with the hoodie pliers to squeeze it in and click it, and once they did click out of this thing, they disappear across the room at about the speed of light, never to be found again, apart from your vacuum cleaner or your cat. So they're now in and they're secure. So then what I do is I'll put that then to one side. And then what I want to do is I actually want to build the rest of the drive shaft. Here we've got the 2 pins for the double jointed part of the drive shaft. So what I like to do there is I take my 1.5 Allen key and I put the grub screw on it. I also take a look at this, and in one side you'll see, if you'll see it, that it's not threaded. The other side has got a thread in it. So this screw needs to go on the threaded bit. I then take a tiny drop of Loctite blue And I mean a very, very, very tiny amount. If you put too much Loctite on this screw, you're going to Loctite the pin into this and you're going to get a drive shaft that's binding up. So what I then like to do is I just like to turn it in like one turn and take it out, okay? And then what I do is then I'll put it into the drive shaft end, making sure that the hole lines up on the groove of the outer drive shaft. Then I take my middle piece, obviously making sure that this little indent is where the grip screw is, so you can get to it and to tighten it. So that goes through like that. I hold it in place with my finger. Take my pin for the drive shaft, and then again, just checking that the flat surface is where the grip screw is going to go, and just feed it gently. And it's a bit fiddly, and obviously because I'm on camera, I'm probably blocking the view. But what I'll do is I'll just turn it, and then as I slide it in, you'll see that that will then slide all the way through and should come out the other side. Okay, then I take my fingers and my thumb, hold the pin in the middle, take my 1.5 Allen key and tighten it up till it's tight. And then what I'll do is I'll then give it a little bit of a extra nip. Then check that it's not binding, that everything's in and it moves. Okay, that's that one. Then we take the next one. We're obviously now going to do the drive shaft side. Take a very small drop of Loctite. Again, very small amount. Check the drive shaft piece for which side it's got the thread in it. And just turn it in like maybe 1.5 turns. You don't want it to go through into the hole because then it'll stop the pin coming through. We then feed this into the drive shaft, again holding the pin, the hole to the top side of the drive shaft. And then we do the same thing here, where we make sure that that piece goes in there, woo, like that. And also that the ball sits in the cup, okay? In here, you have a little bit of a indent, and in here you've got the ball. So that ball needs to sit in that cup. It's a little bit fiddly now because you've got quite a few loose little bits. Just slide that into there nicely and it'll push in. And then you can see all the way through the drive shaft down to your setup board or whatever you're working on, kitchen table, whatever. Again, get the pin, flat side facing the grip screw. Yeah. The other one went in really, really easily. Never had a problem with that one. Of course, get the camera out and it starts to go wrong. Right, so we've got that in there, that in there, that in there. Everything should be lined up. Take the pin, wiggle it into the hole, obviously making sure that the flat piece is facing the grip screw. Slide it out to make sure. I'm not sure if it went in the right. It didn't. There, look now. See, so I had to turn that one a quarter turn to get that flat surface. I don't want to pull it out all the way. Just to get that flat surface there, which is where the grip screw is. If it's a little bit off, don't worry about it too much, because when you tighten the grip screw, it'll turn the pin to where it needs to be. Then we just push that all the way home. Yeah, like that. Again, finger and thumb on one side, and then just tighten the axle. Make sure you try and keep it as straight as possible when you tighten it, because then you make sure that the flat surface is in, and then give it an extra nip. You don't have to try and break it off, just a nice nip. And then just check if everything is moving freely. Yeah, and what you also can check is just have a quick look at how far this grip screw is out. This one I'd say is about 1.5 threads out. And then check the other side and make sure this is 1.5 threads or the same out. Yeah, because if you haven't got this pin in all the way where the flat surface is pointing the grip screw, this grip screw or this grip screw will be further out than the other one. That's nice and free. So that's built. Okay. Not too, like I said, not too much Loctite on the screws. You don't need a lot on these. It's just to stop them shaking out when you're driving. Clean that rest of the Loctite up. Oops. And then we take our friendly bit of anti-wear grease and my screwdriver and just take a little tiny bit. We don't need a lot. And then the pin goes through the small hole, not the big flat hole here. It goes to the small hole. And I like to just smear a little bit in the hole, turn it around and do the same thing. This has got absolutely nothing to do with lubrication for me. It's just to hold that pin in place so it doesn't fall out when I'm changing something on my car. Then we take the end of the drive shaft and we just slide that nicely over till we can see all the holes lined up. And with this pin there is no flat surface because there's no grip screw. We just slide that into there, wibble the drive shaft a little bit until we get it out. Clean the extra grease off, make sure that everything's nice and free, and there's your drive shaft built. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I then take my One.1 Racing bearing oil, just put a drop in and a drop in. There's more there than what I would normally do in my bearings because they're so small I can't get much more in. And then, because these are new, I'll put a little bit more of this drive shaft oil in than what I normally would. So I just put a nice drop in there. I like to put a drop onto the ball and cup in the middle. Turn the drive shaft around and loop into there as well. And then grab the drive shaft by the shaft itself and then drop into that side and a bit into that side. There's absolutely loads of oil in there now. So be aware if you're doing this in your car, I'd give it a bit of time before you put a battery in and use your throttle. Because if you put this now in the car, I'm going to build the car in about an hour or something. If you put this in the car now and then throttle, it'll just splurt out everywhere. So what I'd just like to do is now just work a bit of the oil in, and then I'll leave them for an hour or something. Just that lets the Loctite will dry off now. There's no oxygen in there, and the drive shaft is built. I like to just leave it to settle, let the oil soak into the bearings, let the oil soak into the drive shaft, and then what I'll do is I'll just take a little piece of tissue and then just wipe the excess from the outside off. And then that's done. So there we have two shiny new drive shafts for our Iris touring car or Fronti, like I've got. And it's good. And then you've still got like, what, 8 clips per drive shaft over. Bonus. Now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know. And give us a thumbs up as well, please. Cheers, boys.